Are you ready for a new adventure? Time to travel back in time, let's go! Are you ready for a new adventure? Let's learn about the past with Anna and Leo.
Hi friends! Welcome to Unlock This, a podcast from Honest History, where we join our friends Anna, Leo, and Percy on adventures through time and uncover some really cool stories along the way. My name is William. I'm 6 years old, and I love learning about history, especially new stories that I don't hear about in school. I can't wait for today's story, and I think you're gonna love it too. So let's dive in.
Sorry I'm late, Anna. I had to stay after school for a project. I wanted to send you a message, but I don't have a phone.
That's okay, Leo. I was just looking at these old documents in the museum. Some of these are from the 1700s. They didn't have phones back then either. It always makes me think about how people used to send messages before there were phones or computers. You know, before you could just press a button and talk to someone instantly.
Yeah, I think about that too. It would have taken much longer to send messages back then.
Just think of something urgent that you needed to tell someone right away. How would you get that message to people quickly in the 1700s?
Well, they didn't have cars or planes or trains, so I guess the fastest way would have been by horse.
Of course! Messengers used to ride on horseback, like Paul Revere. Do you remember him?
Didn't he live during the American Revolution?
That's right. Before the United States became its own country, it was made up of 13 colonies that were controlled by Great Britain.
And if I remember correctly, Paul Revere was one of the colonists fighting for Great Britain during the Revolution. There is that famous story about him. He rode through the night to warn people about the British Army.
Yes.
And he did it all by himself.
Well, no.
No? But I'm pretty sure that's a story I've always heard. In the middle of the night, Paul Revere got on his horse and rode for miles, yelling, "The British are coming! The British are coming!"
Well, that's another problem. He probably never yelled that.
So what's the true story of Paul Revere?
I have a feeling this will be our next adventure. Percy, are you there? Can you show us something about Paul Revere and his midnight ride?
Percy is pointing to that brown truck over there in the corner.
It looks really old. Should we open it? Yes, don't worry, Percy. We will be very careful.
Wow, Anna, there's all kinds of papers in here. They look really old, too. Do you think these were Paul Revere's?
I think we're about to find out. Get ready, Leo. Here we go. Leo, are you there? It's pretty dark out here.
I'm right here, Anna. It must be nighttime here.
Are we in some kind of town?
I think I recognize this place. It looks like Boston. It's a little different than the last time we saw it, though.
You mean it's not covered in molasses?
Yes. If this is Paul Revere's time, then thankfully the Great Molasses Flood hasn't happened yet.
There hasn't been a flood, but a war is about to begin.
A war? Do you mean the American Revolution?
Yes, and Boston was a very important city during that time. It was also where Paul Revere lived and worked as a silversmith.
What's a silversmith?
A silversmith makes objects out of metal. Revere made many different things in his workshop, like silver spoons and beautiful tea sets. But during wartime, it wasn't easy to make a living as a silversmith, so he tried other trades to make some extra cash. Did you know Paul Revere was a dentist for a while?
No. He went from making silver spoons to cleaning people's teeth?
That's right. Revere cleaned teeth, sold toothpaste, and attached false teeth, too.
False teeth? Like George Washington? I remember reading he had fake teeth.
That's right. Washington had dentures made of human teeth. Ugh. But some of the teeth were also carved from hippopotamus tusks.
Whoa, really?
I heard that too, Percy. I think someone went into that house over there.
There's a light on the window. Let's get a closer look. Looks like there are 2 men inside.
And one of those men is Paul Revere.
Are they having some kind of secret meeting?
I wouldn't be surprised. As a silversmith, Revere sold his goods all over Boston, and that meant that he got to talk to a lot of different people. He started to get to know leaders of different political groups that were protesting British laws and taxes. But those groups needed to be careful. There were about 4,000 British soldiers stationed in Boston. The different groups had to be sneaky so they wouldn't get caught. Paul Revere helped by carrying their secret messages.
So maybe Revere is having a meeting about a secret message in that house.
That's what I'm thinking. But I wish I knew who that other man was. Thanks, Percy. He said the other man is Dr. Joseph Warren, which means I know exactly what they're talking about. Leo, tonight is the night.
What night?
The night of the midnight ride. On April 18th, 1775, Dr. Joseph Warren asked Paul Revere to ride to Lexington, Massachusetts. Warren needed him to send a message that the British soldiers were going to leave Boston and march to Lexington.
So Warren wanted Revere to get to Lexington first. Why?
2 men named Samuel Adams and John Hancock were staying in a house in Lexington. They were leaders of a secret group called the Sons of Liberty. This group didn't agree with British rule and organized protests against British laws and their taxes. Warren thought that the British soldiers were going to Lexington to arrest Adams and Hancock.
So he thought if Revere got to Lexington first, he could warn the 2 men.
Exactly.
Anna, look! Revere is gone. Where did he go?
I bet he's gone to that church in the distance. He's going to tell his friend to give the signal.
Signal?
If the British were going by sea, he told his friend to light 2 lanterns in the church tower. And if they were going by land, 1 lantern. This signal would alert any nearby colonists.
Look! There are 2 lanterns in the tower. So the British were going to travel by sea.
Percy said we should head to the waterfront. We'll see Paul Revere there.
There he is! He's getting into that boat with those 2 other men.
Those are some of Paul Revere's friends. They're going to row him across the river. Leo, we'll need to get on that boat before they push it off. Quick!
We made it! Wait, Anna, do you see that huge ship out there in the water?
That's the British warship. We'll need to be extra quiet so they don't hear us rowing past. And we've landed on the shore with no British soldiers in sight.
Where is Revere going now?
He's going to tell the members of the Sons of Liberty about the plan and check that they saw the signal from the church. But Percy said we should go this way. I wonder where he's taking us.
It looks like he's leading us to... horses?
I know what you're thinking, Percy. In order to follow Revere on his midnight ride, we'll need a horse of our own. Come on, Leo, hop on.
So where do we go now? Do you see Revere anywhere?
No, but do you hear that?
Oh, it sounds like a horse in the distance. That could be him. Let's head that way.
There he is! I see him! It's Paul Revere!
Anna, there are 2 men on horseback over there, under the tree. Revere is getting closer to them. Do you think he sees them?
You there! Stop!
Those are British officers. They're chasing him down the road. Run, Revere, run!
Don't worry, Leo. Revere manages to get away.
You're right. I can see his horse up ahead. The British officers are gone, and it looks like they've stopped at that house.
During his ride, he would stop in towns and tell people that the British soldiers were on their way.
In Medford, I awoke the captain of the Minutemen, and after that, I alarmed almost every house till I got to Lexington.
And listen, Paul Revere isn't yelling to warn people. He didn't want the British soldiers to hear him, so he had to be as quiet as possible.
Wow, so Paul Revere didn't shout the British are coming.
No, if anything, historians think that he probably quietly told people, the regulars are coming out. Regulars was the word that they used for British soldiers.
Anna, when we were back in the museum, you said Paul Revere didn't ride all by himself. Were there other riders?
Yes, one of the riders was a man named William Dawes. He was taking a different and much longer route than Revere. It was riskier for Dawes because he would be passing by a lot of British soldiers. But it was important that he went just in case Revere got caught.
Hi friends, are you enjoying today's episode? I'd like to take a quick break from the story to tell you about another great place to learn about the past. Honest History creates magazines and books for kids that are filled with fun stories and activities that bring history to life. From pirates to spies to great inventions and so much more, you'll learn about interesting people, places, and events from around the world that made history. Created for kids ages 6 through 12, you can sign up and receive new adventures delivered straight to your doorstep every quarter. Just visit honesthistory.co. That's honesthistory.co to sign up today. Oh, and here's a special offer for our podcast listeners. Use code UNLOCKTHIS for 10% off. Again, that special code is UNLOCKTHIS. Okay, let's get back to the story.
Anna, Revere has been in that house for a while. Where do you think we are?
I think this is Lexington. And look, do you see that man over there on the horse? That's the other rider, William Dawes.
So they did it? They delivered their message? Does that mean the midnight ride is over?
Well, getting to Lexington was only the first part of their mission. Now they needed to ride to another town called Concord.
Why? What did they need to do there?
Do you remember the Sons of Liberty?
Yes, they were the group that was fighting against British rule.
Well, to fight the British, colonists had been gathering strong weapons in Concord, and they were worried that the British soldiers would march to that town and take those weapons.
Oh, so Revere and Dawes needed to go to Concord and warn the colonists.
Exactly.
Anna, Revere and Dawes are leaving for Concord, and I see another rider in the distance.
Yeah, most people don't realize there were 3 riders who went to Concord: Paul Revere, William Dawes, and Dr. Samuel Prescott. It was going to be a very risky journey, so they were hoping that at least one of them would make it past the British. Quick, let's follow them!
Uh-oh. Anna, something has happened over there.
You there! Where do you come from? What are your names?
Just like earlier, there are British soldiers hiding in a tree. They've spotted Revere and the other riders.
Dawes, Prescott, we must try to get past them.
It looks like the riders are splitting up to try and shake soldiers loose, but oh no!
Sir, dismount your horse at once. What is your name? Revere. Paul Revere? Yes.
What? The British soldiers caught Revere. Anna, what happens now? Does Revere get away? Does he make it to Concord?
Nope, and Dawes doesn't either. Dawes managed to escape, but he fell off his horse not long after. Dr. Samuel Prescott was the only one who made it to Concord and delivered the message.
How come we never hear about William Dawes or Samuel Prescott? It seems like they were very important.
Well, it's because of this famous poem that was written many years later. In 1860, which was 85 years after Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, a man named Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote a poem about this event. The poem famously described the night that we just saw, but it got a few of the facts wrong. It said that Revere rode all the way to Concord, and it never mentioned the other two riders. The famous line, "The British are coming," was also in that poem.
And we know that Revere didn't make it to Concord. He wasn't the only rider, and probably didn't shout "The British are coming."
That's right, but Paul Revere wasn't that well known before this poem, so it helped make him a legend in American history. But sadly, many people also forgot about the other two riders.
So what happened to Revere? Did the British arrest him?
They questioned him for a while, but eventually let him go. Revere went back to Lexington, where a very important event was about to take place. Early the next day, the British Army marched into Lexington and found a small militia of colonists who were ready to fight. That morning, Paul Revere was busy hiding in a trunk filled with important papers so the British wouldn't find him. That's when he heard a gunshot. The American Revolutionary War had begun.
A trunk, you say? Does this trunk happen to be brown and very old-looking?
Leo, that trunk we found in the vault! And it was filled with all those old papers!
We're back. So, we were right. This is the same trunk that Paul Revere hid the morning the American Revolutionary War began. I wonder why it was so important.
Percy said it belonged to John Hancock. He was one of the leaders of the Sons of Liberty who was staying in Lexington, remember? He had kept all sorts of papers in here about their plans. He didn't want the British soldiers getting their hands on it.
If they had, I bet they would have learned all about the Sons of Liberty. Colonists like Paul Revere would have been in big trouble.
A lot of people would have been arrested and charged with treason if the British Army had found his trunk. But thankfully they didn't.
I guess there was a lot I didn't know about Paul Revere and his midnight ride. It really comes to show you that sometimes famous stories get the facts a little wrong.
Percy said you'd be surprised at how often this happens.
Welcome back. That sure was a great adventure. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna tell all my friends about this amazing story. That's all for now. But if you want to learn more, be sure to check out my favorite magazine for kids, Honest History. There's a ton of stuff to learn in each issue, and I love the fun activities and questions. Bye! This episode was narrated by Nikki and JoAnn Schinderle and written by Heidi Coburn. The production was read by Robot Pirate Media. To learn more about Honest History, visit us at honesthistory.co and follow for updates on social media.